Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. It's great to see each and every one of us here, and it promises to be a really great time. My name is Emmanuel Omale, and I've got an amazing co-host with me here. We've also got our guest for today's session is also here. So I'll just let Elizabeth. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, Emmanuel. How are you doing today?
Doing very, very, very great. Really pumped about what we're going to be doing today. I think that today's conversation is very interesting for so many reasons, and that's why we have everyone joining in already. We're going to be speaking to an interesting topic beyond the hype. I'm sure a lot of us have heard, so many things about AI. Earlier today, Anthropic released their latest models, Mythos, that has been in the works. I mean, and then they released it public today. So much is happening with AI these days, and the average business owner is just lost in the midst of all of it, and it's like, where exactly? What does this mean for me as a business owner? You know, I think for those who are not business owners, maybe like those who talents and the likes, the much has been said about how AI is going to replace skills and all of that. But for businesses, nobody's saying anything. And that's why we're having today's conversation, to really know what can AI really do for your business, right? And we've got an interesting guest. But just before we get started, for those of us who are on the call already, we'd love to meet you. So kindly use the chat to just tell us your name and where you're joining us from. Your name and where you're joining us from. We'd love to see that as we kick off today's session. Elizabeth, do you want to say something?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
All right. Okay, so I think you've given the best introduction, right? And I love that you made an emphasis on this part of AI that isn't talked about enough, right? The part of it being so essential for small business owners. And I think one of the things that I've seen is that it's not the challenge is not really understanding AI, but how exactly can it create a real business value for your
Exactly.
business, but with whatever, especially people that have small businesses. So enough of the hype, right? Everybody's talking about Claude, ChatGPT, this, that, and sometimes we just have to sit down and talk about these things. Like, okay, where do we get it wrong, right? As small businesses using AI, right? Where have the biggest opportunities are as well, and more importantly, the practical steps that we can use to drive growth and improve real value, and also be stay competitive in the market as well. So I'm really excited about this conversation, and I'm very much excited to have Mike, right, who is someone that understands this perfectly and really
Yeah.
well. So thank you so much for being here, Mike. Thank you, Manu, as well.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Elizabeth. I would want to speak to the class of business owners we are having here, and why this session is exactly for you and why you're in the right place. The majority of guys who are here joining are business owners and, running small businesses to medium businesses. And, for those for the corporate enterprises, some of them have AI figured out. They could easily get an advisor, on board consultants and the likes. But for the folks of us here, we depend largely on things we see online and that can raise, give panic and all of that. So you're here, you're running a small business, you've got a team, or you're running it alone, you're in the right room because we're going to be speaking to the practical, valuable things, AI that really, really converts, AI that drives revenue. That's what you're here for. And that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be looking into several aspects of your business, from marketing to customer service to even the delivery of the value that you offer. We're going to be delving into all of that. And once again, you're welcome. And if you're just joining us, please use the chat to just tell us where you're joining us from. Tell us your name and where you're joining in from. And tell us if you're pumped about today's session. Tell us what you're anticipating. If you already have a question, as I believe that the majority of us have, a question about something you've heard, something you're not clear about as regards AI, you can begin to drop your questions now, even before we start the session, because we're going to be answering all your questions here today. So without wasting so much of time, we want to be sure that and you can be sure that we're going to be valuing your time, because as business owners, that's one key thing that we don't joke with. So we're going right into introducing Mike and then diving right into the conversation. And over to you, Elizabeth.
All right. I didn't know I was muted. So just like I said earlier, right, we're having the best person that could hold this conversation with us and answer our questions and also your questions as well. So join me as I welcome Dr. Michael AJ Conroy, shots from Mike, and who is a distinguished academic and global authority in artificial intelligence and IT BPO strategy, with over 25 years of leadership experience spanning the UK, USA, and Asia. He specializes in bridging the gap between high level academic research and real world implementation. So he was formerly the country manager at Atos IT Shared Services. I'm not sure if Zoom has this feature. Oh, thank you. Someone is doing that already. Thank you for clapping. So, please, I would love us to give the virtual clap. He has directed global operations for premier brands including Coca-Cola, Apple, JP Morgan, Nike, and Rolls Royce. I don't know. I had to take a deep breath at that point because this is this is so good. So he holds a DBA from Portman AI University, MYUSA, and is currently a doctoral candidate AI at Charles Sturt University, Australia, focusing on strategic integration of AI and robotic process automation. So he's also the co-founder of Top BPO in Ireland Limited and AI Lab CX. He was formerly the president and is also the current director and co-founder of Irish Philippine Chamber of Commerce Metro Malina. So presently, he's an assistant professor in Enduran Colleges. He's an AI board member in the University of the Philippines, and he's also a strategic consultant specializing in AI driven digital transformation and IT BPO scaling AI Lab CX. He's also a mentor and advisor at the Portman University in my USA AI University. He's also the first AI instructor lead professor avatars in the region which is based in BGC Manila. It remains at the forefront of AI revolution, helping organizations navigate the complexities of the modern digital landscape across the EU, Southeast Asia, and APAC. It's such an honor to have you in the room, Mike. I believe that each and every one of us here I don't even have the words, but we are so honored to have you here. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank
Thank
you.
you
Thank you
so
very
much.
much indeed.
Thank you so much, Mike, for joining us. I mean, that was a breath. And thank you for joining us. It just shows that yeah, we've got the right person to dive into this conversation. For those of us who are just joining in, this is the conversation we're having today beyond the hype, and what AI can really do to your business, right? And we've got Mike here, and I've been chatting with Mike for so long, and I just knew it was the right person to have this conversation with us. Mike, let's start off on this note. So many people and the audience right now, especially business owners, small business owners, and the likes, they really, if there's one thing that there's a constraint on its time, and in today's world, if there's one thing that is also really moving fast without respect to time, that's AI, right? And it's been a game of catch up for most business owners. Oh, there's AI, there's something called ChatGPT, there's something called Claude AI. And the most businesses have done with it is just interacting with it, asking it questions. So I would love for you to just give us that perspective. What should be the right frame of mind? What should be the order? How should we think about it, AI as business owners?
Yeah, thank you very much, folks, for the kind introduction. It's really great to be here, and thank you very much for all the joinees that are listening in from all around the world, especially in Nigeria. As mentioned, my name is Mike Conroy. I'm the co-founder, director of AI Labs and Talk BPO Ireland, based in BGC Metro Manila. I don't need to go much into my bio. That's already been spoken about. But to answer the question with regards to E-man, it is a tough industry right now. AI. I even as a researcher have difficulties keeping up with it. To be honest with you, I don't even know why I started a PhD in IT because every day it's changing, and every day I'm having back and forth tennis matches with my um, supervisor to research what's going on in the AI world. But as you can appreciate, I can look at the first question here where most small businesses go wrong when they try to adopt AI and why the order in which they do things matters more than which tools they pick. A lot of people jump on the bandwagon. A lot of people jump on the bandwagon. They like to see new shiny things and start to use the tools. But the problem is they don't identify the pain points in their processes and in their business. The most important thing is to understand the processes. Once you identify the processes, then you're able to apply the right tools. Once you're able to identify the pain points, you're able to identify the right tools. But for the sake of just applying AI and choosing AI because of someone said it or because of the hype, it's not going to give you that return on investment, i.e. ROI or return on investment as we say. So with that in mind, and the fact that I'm conscious that we have entrepreneurs on the call, I myself, I'm a avid entrepreneur. I teach entrepreneurship. I teach technical entrepreneurship to students. It's very important to make sure that you have your process in line. And that is in particular your actual SEO optimization, search engine optimization. And also now we have the new word, which is the geo generative engine optimization. If you're not making noise, if you're not making noise out there about your product or your solution, then how are the public going to buy your product? So it's important to be able to be good and efficient at digital marketing. If you're not a good or efficient at digital marketing in the AI world, then learn it, do a course. And if you haven't got time to do it, then outsource it, get someone else to do it for you. But it's important that you use JPEGs, single pictures, carousels, pictures with collage, videos, 10-second videos, 40-second, 45-second videos, and promotion videos. Get them out on the social media domains, every social media domain if you can, and make some noise. Don't worry about what people say about your product. At the end of the day, you've got to put the food on the table for your family, and that's what it's all about.
Mm.
They're not going to pay your bills if they're going to criticize you. So I would definitely consider adopting AI in those areas, first of all, because if you don't have any physical marketing present, then how are you going to get your product out there and how are people going to buy it?
Right. Mike, let me quote you in there. You had said that you said a couple of things, but I think you're leading on the marketing side of things. But if there's one thing that a lot of people, especially business owners, worry about when it comes to AI, and I would love for you to speak to this, is AI sounds generic. AI doesn't sound like me. ChatGPT doesn't sound like me, and all of that. How would you say? What would you say to that? You already said that don't bother about it, but I would love for you to speak more to that.
Yeah, so there are various GPT platforms out there. Um, and it's important to consider what GPT platform you want to choose and for what function. And there's an array of them. So it can be mind-boggling. You can be baffled. You can be lost. The most important thing to consider then when it comes to AI is that you need to be able to prompt correctly. If you can prompt correctly on the GPT platforms, whatever they may be, OpenAI, GPT, Gemini, Manus, Copilot, whatever the case may be, then you should be able to get the answers that you want. You don't need to go to a consultant anymore. You can consult your GPT application. The GP applications will give you the answer as long as you have the correct prompting. Now, if you don't know how to do the prompt on a GPT application, how do you do it? Where do you get the answers from? You go to GPT. And when I say GPT, I'm not saying OpenAI GPT. I'm using the term general GPT for all the applications that are out there. Ask the GPT, I have a problem, type it in or speak to it. I speak to it a lot now, I don't type. And basically have a conversation with the GPT application, explain the problem, explain your pain points, explain the dilemma, and tell the GPT application, these are the dramas, these are the concerns. What do you suggest that I can do in order to rectify it? And what will happen is over time, you'll get better and better at your prompts. But also, just having a free flow conversation like we're having here today also helps as well. So keep those in mind. I hope that answers your question, Iman.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Elizabeth, have you got a question?
All right. Thank you so much, Mike, for your answer. Um, can you hear me, please?
Yes, I do. I can hear you well.
Okay. Okay. So, on my own end, I would like to ask a question that a lot of people bother about, because one thing that I know is that there is a difference between AI that saves time and also AI that saves revenue as well. Because especially in this part of like Nigeria, having to pay for tools can, you would need a lot of should I say, convincing why exactly do I need to pay for this tool. So, what exactly do you think should be put in place before anyone starts paying for a particular tool, or what do you think should be the boxes that should be ticked before you actually pay for a tool? I don't know if that's clear.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
good question. And I'll repeat the question for the benefit of the audience as well. The difference between AI that saves time and AI that actually grows revenue, because these are not the same thing. Most people conflate them. So we want to be able to increase revenue, but we also want to be able to have a return on investment. And we want to make sure that we're on the right horse, metaphorically speaking, or the right GPT application. Before we answer that question, there are two types of AI framework. One is the GPT applications, but the other side of the coin is machine learning, agentic AI. So to keep it simple, let's just focus on the GPT for now, and then later on we can talk about machine learning. So on the GPT side, before you pay for an application, it's important to utilize all four, five, six, or whatever across the platforms and have them basically pinpoint on your browser. In the early days, 2, 3 years ago, I did the same thing. I use a lot of the GPT applications because sometimes they hallucinate. Hallucination is that they give you wrong information, and that wrong information can basically have egg on your face. And I'll give you an example of that. I'm a researcher, and I want to be able to cite and I want to be able to quote. And I'm quite confident, or I was quite confident then, that Gemini, because Gemini is owned by Google, and Google has made Google Scholar has peer-reviewed papers, can give you that information that you need for your papers if there are any students here on the call. The problem is that if you use Google Gemini, it's not necessarily true all the time that it's going to cite the references and give you the correct references. It's because you've had a poor prompt. The prompt is not very good. So it's important that when you do prompt, that you basically give the prompt a persona. That persona is you are a professor of ABC topic, I want you to do some research on ABC topic and give me the information from, say, 2020 to 2025. And I want you to cite references that are applicable for my research on ABC topic. Do you understand the instructions before you continue? It's important that you get an affirmative answer from the GPT application that they understand your instructions. Because if you don't do that, what's going to happen is you're going to get misconstrued information, and then you're going to have to start again. And when you start again, what happens is a lot of people make a mistake. They go in and do the actual research again in a new line. I'll repeat that. They go and redo the research again or the question that they want to answer in a new line. Uh-uh, do not do that. If you do that, what will happen is you'll end up to start to use more tokens and more credits. You go into the previous request and you edit the previous request so you minimize the total credits. It's okay if you're on a freebie, but by creating this practice will prepare you then for the paid application. So that way you can extend your research and your tokens fivefold, sixfold, sevenfold, or whatever the case may be. Now, every GPT application is good for something. Perplexity is good for research, right? Gemini is good for research, but also for practical applications and graphic user interfaces. Manus is good for PowerPoints and several other research applications. GPT is good for general, but although it's losing marketplace right now, it's trying to catch up. And then obviously Anthropic, as you well know, it's very well ahead of the game right now, and it's doing a lot of advertising and a lot of marketing. So I could talk to the cows come home as we speak, but I think I'll leave it there for now, and I hope that's basically answered your question. So in summary, make sure you try them all. Make sure you try them for different events, different tasks. And at the same time, if you're still in doubt, then ask a GPT application that will hopefully give you a non-biased answer. I want to do this, I want to do that. Which is the best GPT application to use? Because it's constantly changing every week.
Okay. Thank you very much for that answer, Mike. So let's get into some more details. I think when you were starting off on the first question, you had mentioned marketing as a use case for business owners. So for every business owner on the call, you're thinking, what are the aspects I can implement? What are the things AI can do for me right now, beyond just the hype, beyond just what is popular, beyond just interacting with a chat GPT or something. And Mike has done well to talk about generating carousels, generating videos, and all of that for marketing purposes. Let's dive right into other aspects. I think marketing is obviously a leading one, but now we want to dive into what are the different areas and which one is unpopular that most people don't know they can capture more value using AI for, and which one is most valuable from marketing to
Yeah.
customer service to other aspects.
Okay. So we're just going off the questions right now. We're just going free flowing. Is that correct?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Are we free flowing on the questions or are we sticking to the questions, Iman?
Yeah. So we're going over the question that for business functions, you talked about marketing already, and
Okay. Number
then
three.
there's other
Got it.
areas, operations. So I wanted you to speak to the other areas and how AI can come into them. Which ones are
Got it.
unpopular right now but could drive a lot of value?
Got it. Okay. For the benefit of the audience, question number three, which business function, whether marketing operations or customer experience, tends to give small businesses the clearest return when they start with AI? So in the marketing field, the problem in schools is that a lot of schools are not taught sales. For some reason, it's been left out of techno entrepreneurship, entrepreneurs, and we have to basically add sales on the fly. I've seen it a lot in Southeast Asia, and I also see it in Australia as well on the curriculum. So We need to utilize AI for automation for sales and also marketing. So there are sales tools out there in the AI industry that will allow you to basically outreach to your prospects and to your customers. And I'm gonna walk you through this very, very slowly, but I'm gonna tell you why you would do it. When you have AI automation in sales, it will allow you to reach out to your persona, i.e., potential right candidate to buy your product. You're able to send at least 45 to 50 messages per day via LinkedIn. Can you basically give me a show of hands that a lot of people use LinkedIn here today on the chat? Do you use LinkedIn here today? Just give us a show of hands. The reason why LinkedIn in the business world is connected is because originally it was designed for recruitment, but now it's designed for business networking as well. And by having AI automation, it will allow you to reach out to them automatically. But in the AI templates, you must be able to design the reach out tech that is compelling, actionable, and it will allow the potential candidate for purchasing your product to reply to you. So gone are the days whereby you have to send emails or LinkedIn notes manually on your PC. You can actually basically set that up automatically. You can set up 5 to 6 messages to reach out to your prospects on different days. You can send it out on day one on a Monday. You can send it out on day three on a Wednesday, and then you can send it out on Friday or even on a Sunday if you want to, send it on a Sunday. But most people just stop on a Saturday, and then the customer then could potentially reply to you. If the customer does not reply to you via the text, i.e., digital process, then what do you do? How do you get the customer to come and buy your product? You have tried to reach out to them 3, 4 times. So what do you do? So then you would follow up with a phone call, right? Well, not necessarily. You don't have to follow up with a phone call anymore. You can actually have an NLP, natural language processing AI bot. That AI bot can actually talk like a human, think like a human, act like a human, and basically pitch your product and actually learn, known as natural language processing or short language processing, all the text, all the emails that you sent to that prospect over that week. And that AI bot will be able to have a natural conversation with the prospect to be able to set up a meeting and also to be able to do API integrations. API integrations is application programmable interface, so that there can be a handshake between CTI, computer telephony integration. So the robot will be able to then pick the actual call from A to Z and close it off and do the order via e-commerce. So today, if you have a business, the the most time that's spent on that business as an entrepreneur is sales and marketing. If you're not doing sales and marketing, I ask, why are you in business? Because you need to basically disrupt the market and you need to let the market know that you're there. So that's the actual outreach on the sales and marketing. And then I also touched on the digital marketing previously. So again, just to reinforce this for the latecomers, if you haven't got digital marketing in place, it's important to learn it. If you don't want to learn it, then outsource it. The digital marketing must comprise of basically JPEG pictures, carousel pictures like PowerPoint slides, video footage of commercial videos, 12 seconds long, and then 45-second long non-facial videos as well. You can do all those to basically capture the marketplace and become a successful business. I hope that helps.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike. And I love that you emphasize the importance of marketing because there's really no way people can know about your product if you do not talk about it. Right. And just like Mike said, if you do not know marketing, learn. If you can't learn, outsource. So I would move to my next question. I think I know the answer you're going to give because you talked about it, but I'm still going to ask anyway. So if you walked into a small business tomorrow and you could apply AI to just one area. I'm going to mention a lot. I know you will probably say marketing, but let me mention the options that I have. So we have marketing, we have operations, we have customer experience, and we also have tech. Which would you choose and why?
Just repeat that again, please, if you don't mind.
Okay, so I asked if you walked into a small business tomorrow and you could only apply AI to just one part of the business. So which would you pick? Which part, which area would you pick? Would you pick
Yeah, go ahead.
marketing operations, customer experience, and tech? So which would
Mm,
you choose and why?
Interesting, very interesting questions. Just for the audience, I haven't been prompted on this question. This is a new question. So now I got to think now on the fly, which is good. I would go customer service. I would go customer service, and here's why. Um, we need to understand the sentiment analysis of customer service. We need to understand our customers. We need to understand how they're thinking. Now, this is an interesting answer because we have automation to take care of this. If our customers bag our product or there are bad actors online blogging about our product or they're trying to bring down our product, we can actually capture that in real time today. If you don't eliminate that negative social media on the World Wide Web, it's going to be detrimental to your product. So sentiment analysis can be actually monitored in real time, and you can actually nip it in the bud ASAP with AI automation. And it shows that then you as a company are actually caring about your product, but also caring about your customers to make sure that you do things right for you. For example, I had a really bad experience the other day with an airline. I paid for my airline ticket. I'm expecting the itinerary, and it hasn't come. It hasn't arrived. So I called up customer service. The line's dead. And by the way, the airline is Cebu Pacific Airlines. I don't mind talking about the airline. Bad news travels fast, good news travels slow. And this is what happens to your product if you're not going to give good customer service. I wanted to file a complaint. Guess what? I couldn't file a complaint. I wanted to speak to a supervisor. Guess what? No supervisor available on the floor. I wanted to wait for a supervisor. No, not going to happen. I think you get the picture. I think you get the story. So then I did a search analysis on a GPT application. I think it was Gemini. And I found out that their customer service has deteriorated. There's basically tickets been booked, tickets are not being sent, customer service is not being followed up. And it's not been 6 days. And I was told I was going to get a refund or a rebooking and an email. 6 days later, I do not have an email. Recipe for disaster. So if an airline is doing that, can you imagine how many customers they're going to be losing per day? And that same modus operandi is going to apply to you as well if you don't look after your customers, because customer reads content. They read stuff before they want to buy it. And right now, this is what I'm going to be doing in the future as well with airlines, because I can't wait for my ticket because of connecting flight. And that's very detrimental. So, in summary, the answer is customer service. If you can't look after customer service, if you can't treat the customer the way you want to be treated, then you shouldn't be in business. I hope that helps.
All right. Yeah, that helps perfectly. Thank you so much, Mike. Um, I love the way I love your response, right, which is about great customer service, because just like you said, I believe that that is the strongest growth driver for any business. Once your customers have the positive experience, they will definitely return, they recommend, and it will definitely contribute to sustainable growth for your business as well. So even if your tech is good, your marketing is good, but then you're not making your customers happy, then it's just not worth it. So that was just the perfect response. Thank you, Mike. So Emmanuel, do you have a
Very
question?
welcome.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I love Mike's response for a reason because, as business owners, if there's one thing we're always wanting to do, it's getting more customers. And of course, like Mike said, that's the most important thing you can be doing as a business. But then what has been researched and found out is that it's easier to retain a customer than to it costs less actually to retain a customer than to getting a new one. So if a customer has already experienced you, you want to keep that experience going. That's it. That's an easy way. Imagine you have a subscription business and they keep paying you every month. That's way easier than trying to get a new one every single time. That you can't predict their churn, you can't predict if they're going to subscribe the next month. So it just makes sense that that's it. And then my next question is just going to follow from there. Mike, let's try to
Mm,
picture a business. You have a business right now, you're starting a business.
mm,
And
mm.
then we've discovered marketing, we've uncovered operations, we've uncovered tech, we've uncovered customer service. Can you just paint a picture of what kind of tools you would use and how you would do that um, uh, in a way that is going to be efficient for you as a business owner? So the end goal of that is to see how that everybody here can go back, look at their business and say, oh, for marketing, this is what I should be doing now. For operations, this is how to automate this. Then I would want you to speak practically to this.
Yeah, good question. So from an operational perspective, there are many tools out there. Um, the tool and the acronyms, I'll explain. CRM, customer relationship management. Generally, that would be in the sales and marketing, whereby you'd have to look after and track your customers, payments, what was last said in the conversation. In addition to that, you would need to have ACDs, automatic call distributors, which is a dialer for basically dialing out to your customers, but also at the same time for dialing in as well. So remember, it's a two-way process, calls that are going out to your customers and calls that are coming in. It's important to make sure that those calls are going to be answered, whether it be a human or whether it be an AI chatbot as well. In addition to that, um, there are ERP services, enterprise resource planning services, for especially in manufacturing, whereby you can do stock control, you can do logistics, you can do invoicing, and so on and so forth. On top of that, it's also important to make sure you have a proper accountancy application. You need to have an accountancy package to be able to invoice, to be able to automatically follow up on the customer who has not paid that invoice, but also to stop the automation reminder for payment when they make that payment so that the bank syncs with your account package to know that that bill has been paid and an automatic receipt is sent. Trust me, I've done this all on Excel. You will probably end up basically driving yourself, God forbid, to an early grave if you continue to stay on Excel. So consider having CRM, consider having an ACD, automatic call distributor for VoIP calls. Consider having ERP if you're in manufacturing, and consider having automation across all those services and speaking to one another. Because if they don't speak to one another, then they're siloed, they're isolated. One more factor that I would like to take into consideration is on your website. Some people don't have websites, probably here on the call, if they're entrepreneurs. They probably rely on social media. I have something to tell you if you don't have a website. You don't own your customer data. If you have a website, you own your customer data because you're able to track the internet IP address, the telephony number of the actual visitors to your website. And you have AI applications that will be able to record those personal visitors. And what happens is to get around that, you must basically comply with the Privacy Act. So if a customer does come to your website, the presumption is that they comply with the privacy regulations and they comply with your SLA privacy agreement, which gives you the option to be able to track them coming to your website. Now, why am I saying this? I'm saying this because you're able then to collect the data. That's the value proposition behind this discussion on this topic. And then later on, you're able to market those customers via LinkedIn, via email, or even via social media. But on the contrary, if you're pushing all your ads over to social media in some cases, some of the social media applications will own your data and it can be costly as well at the same time. So for the sake of $300 or $400 to build a website, you can control that website and you can post all the adverts that you're posting to social media also simultaneously to your website. Now, why am I pushing the website? Because you can put a chatbot on the website. The chatbot, AI chatbot, will be able to capture also the data of the people that are interested in your products. The chatbot will be able to reply and do e-commerce and send out your products via the chatbot. And at the same time, your chatbot will be universally transparent across all social media aspects, whether it be Twitter or it be Facebook or whatever the case may be. It can be universally answered on all your social media applications for the benefit of the customer. The fallacy or the misconception about a chatbot is a chatbot can only be used on the website. Because of AI today, that is incorrect. You can actually have that AI reach out to all platforms for your potential customer. So I hope that helps, and I hope that's answered your question.
Yeah, yeah, I love the perspective you've given, especially to the website thing. The other thing is, most businesses, I mean, for everyone listening, you already know that with the emphasis is placed on website, then you need to get a website. If you don't have one yet, please do get one, and you can buy code something. That's the beauty of AI. You can use one of these tools, get something up, integrate a chatbot and all of that. So that's really cool. I think we've got the last question from Elizabeth before we now go on to the to take questions from the audience.
Sure.
All right. First of all, I want to say thank you so much, Mike, for your answer so far. I'm sure that's for everyone on the call. You've learned a lot. I'm hosting Mike, but I'm also learning so much, and I hope you are as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So to my last question, just a practical step for everyone on the call. So, if everyone listening could take one action after this session, I think you've shared a lot of things, but could you like give us something practical that they could do very, should I say, quickly this week before the end of the week for their business? Yeah.
Really good question. Very good question indeed. Um, yeah, let's keep it simple. Let's focus on prompting. Let's focus on the fact that you want to find out information about research or an ABC product. Just learn to do the simple prompting and give the prompt a persona, whether it be an attorney, a supervisor, a manager, CEO, CTO. Give the prompt a persona. Once you give the prompt a persona, it's like giving them steroids. They're all happy psychologically. And then they go, oh, this guy's asking me to do this, or this lady's asking me to do this. I better do it right because I'm going to be a CTO and I'm going to give this answer as a CTO. So by giving them a prompt and giving them a position on the prompt, you'll get better answers. You'll get better answers. One other thing that I think is important if we're all new to AI here today, probably you're already doing it. I don't know with the audience, but um, summarize your tasks and your emails and outstanding processes for today. Get a brief understanding of what's outstanding, what are the necessary and priority emails, rank them through Copilot. We use Outlook for our company. We're a Microsoft house. And right now, you can do that on your mobile with Copilot. So, with a few simple clicks, you can actually program Copilot to basically give you answers on the priority of the email that needs to be replied to. So, it categorizes it. And then, before the end of the day and before you say goodnight to the rest of the world, you can answer those emails automatically via Copilot. So thankfully, Copilot is kind of coming back to the competition. Microsoft, and OpenAI are obviously in cahoots together. They're competing against one another. But as we know, with Claude is up there at the moment. But just be mindful, we don't have to jump on the bandwagon as well all at the one time. I have to place emphasis on Claude with caution. Claude was invited to the U.S. Senate a few weeks ago, just over a month ago, and it's in the media. You can Google it, later. But they were particularly asked to do some sort of espionage or spying on clients. I don't know where, but ethically, Anthropic Claude turned around and declined. They said no. However, we don't know if that's the case. We don't know if that's a Trojan horse. The same situation happened with Skype. If some of you are old enough to be on this call and remember Skype, Skype was a VoIP recording telephony VoIP product, and they were asked to record calls for the underworld. Then Microsoft came in and bought them out from a Scandinavian company. My concern is when it comes to security and to AI, you've got to be mindful. You've got to watch the headlines of whether or not your data is safe and whether or not you're working for a bank, an insurance company, a finance company, whether or not you have permission to use AI. So we haven't covered it in this call, and I'd like to end, basically this webinar. We need to be mindful and we need to get permission from our supervisors and our powers to be if we are working for a multinational company, because sometimes people don't realize that they're giving away intellectual property and they're putting it up on the domain of that GPT company. And once you put it up there, it's lost, it's gone forever. So it's called ghosting AI. So in other words, you're ghosting your employer. We could spend 4 hours on this. It's called AI governance and due diligence. AI governance and due diligence is a product and a solution and a course that we actually offer from AI Lab CX. It's on our website at ailab.cx. Feel free to have a look at that, and maybe it's something that you could consider for yourself or the company in the future. But if you start with AI governance and due diligence, that is the best place to start with AI. And the reason I'm saying this is because you can get middle management into the room, and middle management can talk about AI processes to be automated. We kick out the senior managers, by the way, on that course. So that way the middle managers can speak freely. I hope that helps.
Thank you very much, Mike. Thank you so much. Okay. I can see the questions coming in already. Guys, please, if you have questions that we've not touched already, please feel free to drop them in the chat or raise a hand, and we'll just give you permission to speak. Okay, I can see one question here. I'll just go out and read it out. It says, with your experience, is there a solution out there today that could minimize repetitive tasks, and give an accurate output with less human error?
Okay, I'll answer the last part first. I'm
Okay.
not going to sit here and put money on it. Give an accurate output with less human error. Um, Even if you go across to AI, there are still some errors. And that's the famous hallucination and bottlenecks. So that can be a challenge in the AI world. It was a challenge also in the RPA world, robotic process automation. So in order to try and replace humans with AI, you've got to have caution. And that caution is that you've got to have type E, type A solution performance on the operation to ensure that it maintains the KPIs, key performance indicators. Um, there was a company that basically turned around. In fact, if you look on Google, I forget the name actually, it escapes me. They turned around and fired so many employees and they just said AI is the way to go. But they then had a lot of sentiment analysis and complaints online. And because of those complaints, I think they went back and rehired at least 25 or 30% of the employees. So a big boo-boo, big mistake. So never think that AI can actually replicate the human. You must always consider having the human in the loop. It's called HIL, human in the loop. Um, and if you have the human in the loop, then you have that redundancy and your backup. But never jump on the bandwagon and realize that AI is the solution. So therefore, we can have a return on investment. In actual fact, there's the opposite that's happening in developing economies and emerging economies. AI, NLP bot, natural language processing bots, to carry calls out and to carry calls in, believe it or not, is actually more expensive than the human labor. Why? Because the AI has to store the data, and a majority of the AI that is built can be either in the Western world, and therefore they're not carrying international pricing to developing economies. And at the same time, they're using high tech and third parties and other applications. So it prohibits them to bring down the cost and the price because their suppliers do not care whether or not you're actually providing to a developing economy. They're still going to charge the Western prices. So the uptake of AI in developing and emerging economies is a bit of a concern because of the pricing. And there's an old saying, if it's not broken, why do you need to fix it? If it's not broken, why do you need to fix it? Why do you need to replace it with AI, especially when it becomes more expensive as well? However, if the call is basically following the sun, i.e., three shifts in one day, not one shift from 9 to 5, then it can become cost effective in a developing or emerging economy. But it has to be at least a minimum, statistically speaking, because we did the maths on it, of at least 2.5 shifts per day in order to have a return on investment with automation. Why? Because you get more volume. You get more volume of calls that are coming in with AI. They can be answered more with AI. There's no breaks. There's no smoke breaks. There's no lunch. There's no holidays. There's no vacation. The AI can actually operate 24 by 7 with basically up to, depending on the number of bots, a minimum of 21 concurrent calls with that one robot. So that bot can be able to emulate and then take over and replicate, on average, 3 people with one person. So take that into consideration. If it's only one shift, it's not cost effective. You're not going to get an ROI unless you get a really, really cheap NLP provider, which is very tough today because prices are expensive for servers and so on and so forth. So I hope that's answered your question. And if there's any other questions, I'll be happy to take.
Okay, thank you, Mike, for that. If you've got a question, you can just raise a hand and you can just speak directly. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? I think we've got like 5 minutes more.
Oh,
We've got
yeah.
5 minutes
Time
more.
flown.
Okay. Well, I think that the conversation today has been really, really interesting, and for most businesses, you've heard a lot has been said around marketing, a lot has been said around customer service and representation, and all of that. I hope that you're beginning to see how that AI is not something beyond just the hype, beyond just the headlines coming up day after day. There are actually practical things that you can begin to deploy to your business. And just tapping into the last point Mike has just said around scaling, that's one very that's the big leverage for you with AI, where you're able to reach reach just a customer or just give one call at a time. You can now make 10, you can now make as much as possible. Then he also talked about the landing the website thing. So if you have a business right now, then you need to get a website. Stop you should instead of relying on just social media, WhatsApp status and the likes, you can do more than that. You can have a website, and every single traffic that every single person that comes into that website, you can track that, right? And then even from tracking the website, which is just to gather traffic, you can now from there go into the lead gen part. And he spoke to that already as well, where you can automate the entire process of reaching out to people. You can reach out to so many people at the same time from LinkedIn and the like. So that this was just a very fantastic and very informative session. I can see a question. Okay, from Ebon. He says, how would business owners balance investing in AI tools versus hiring and developing young professionals? Interesting question. I think you spoke to it already. If you want to say something more, Mike.
Yeah. So how should business owners balance investigating in AI tools versus hiring and developing young professionals? This is from Aka. Thank you for the question. Um, it is a catch-22 situation. You do need to look at a return on investment. There are products out there. In fact, we do have a product called Patty, Process Automation Discovery Intelligence, whereby you can actually put a bot into a process, into a department, and you can ascertain the process, the full process from A to Z. And let's say it's procurement or procure to, no, let's say it's procure to pay. It's basically an accountant department that's accepting bills and paying bills, procurement to pay. So you can put a bot in there. You can find out what processes are happening, how many keystrokes are happening, heat keystrokes, heat maps, and see what processes can be automated automatically. So the bot will actually measure the processes on a scale from 1 to 100%. And it will plot and video record the process from A to Z and give you a report back and say, this process or that process can be automated. And if there's 10 in the department, it can turn around and say, we can basically offload 6 people in that department, and four people can remain. That's called, again, human in the loop. And those 6 people can be repurposed to other strategic tasks within the company or to another department. Not only can the robot, Patty Process Automation Discovery Intelligence, discover and improve on the process, it will build the robot in real time. That bot is a combination of robotic process automation and agentic AI. There are companies out there today that do have RPA processes in that department. In actual fact, it's probably one of the most departments where RPA is happening right now. They still have robotic process automation, but they're actually going across to TAMs. So it's basically large LAMs, large action models. Large action models will then speak to agentic AI and move away from the triggers on robotic process automation. So if you want to basically summarize how should we have humans versus AI, use the process automation tool, or you can basically do it the long way. You can actually do it manually as well. But nowadays, using the process automation tool is a lot quicker, a lot more effective, and you'll see visualizations. And you'll also see images of the process with computer vision images known as OCR. It's optical character recognition, and you can capture all the invoices online and they can be paid online. The other good thing about that is that in that department for that process that I'm talking about, if a payment has to be done, say for over $100, it will trigger and flag the CFO to sign off on it. Otherwise, any payments under $100 are done automatically. So that frees up the accountants to sign checks and do payments and bank transfers. The robot or agentic AI can do all that. So I hope that answers your questions. Just to summarize it, you can actually have process automation discovery intelligent bot examine the process to see whether or not it's worthwhile automating. Sometimes you can't automate, but a majority of the time you can. Hope that helps.
Okay, thank you for sharing. I think that will be the last question we'll take. Just to add to what you said, I think it was this month. I told my team to list out questions or problems they're having within their processes, and then we just dedicated a specific lab to go build products. Because with AI, you can build anything. Just go build the solution that the team is facing internally and all of that. So thank you so much. It's been a very, very, very insightful conversation. Thank you so much, Mike, for joining us. For those who probably didn't get the bio right at the beginning, Mike is the co-founder of Talk BPO and also AI Lab CX, as you can see in his background. Then myself, co-hosting the session with Bolu, I am Emmanuel Omale. I run a company called GIOGUIDE, and we have our first product called Creator AI, which actually every one of us on this course, small business owners, you should be using to automate the process of managing your social media, creating content, and all of that. And I've also got, we had a fantastic co-host, Elizabeth. Elizabeth is co-founder of TechForge Africa, a brand that helps with tech advocacy, helping young people get into tech the right way. It's been a very wonderful conversation for those of us that joined in. Thank you so, so much. And this is the start of many more conversations we're going to be having. This is the start of many more. Thank you and have a good evening or good afternoon. Any final words from you, Elizabeth?
I just want to say thank you, right, to Mike for his time and for pouring out so much without holding back anything. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to everyone on the call implementing all that Mike has shared with us and seeing that your business scales, right, with the right use of AI as well. So it was such an honor to do this and having Mike on the call as well. Thank you so, so much. Thank you.
All right.
Very welcome. Thank you.
Final words from you, Mike, before we call it a day.
Yeah, final words. Good one. First and foremost, thank you very much for being invited here today. Thank you for the participants' attention, and most importantly, thank you for the questions as well. I think I'll summarize it with one thing. Master AI before AI masters you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mike. And with that, we bring it to the day, the end of today. Thank you for joining in and have a great day.